everyone and welcome to Vintage Van Life. It's been a while, hasn't it? So where have I been? Well, I've been working in the United States of America, in California, near Lake Tahoe, up in the mountains at a summer camp. I had a really good time out there, and I know I had a very positive influence on a lot of people there, and I know that they had a very positive influence on me as well. Massive shout out to all of my campers, whether you're in my cabins or not, my CITs, counsellors in training, and of course all of my co's. Now I'd love to shout out some names, but there are so many and I don't want to offend anyone if I miss any of them out. But you all know who you are, so if you can, please leave a comment in the section below and say, hey Alex, it's me from, and I'll be like, hey. So now that I've returned to the UK, I basically need to figure out what to do next. So what about my van? What about Jacques? Well, Jacques started up absolutely fine. First time on the starter motor, boom, off it went. One problem though, I did go for a drive yesterday and the clutch broke. Well, not so much the clutch, but the mechanism, the push rod that actually goes from the pedal to the clutch arm itself snapped, and I'm gonna have to remove it. Getting parts for this van is extremely difficult, so it's probably gonna be repair or fabricate. And luckily there is a place just down the road from here, and I'm going to go there with the parts and see if they can do anything to help me. But the first thing I need to do is remove it from the van. Okay, so you can see what's happened here. The bolt essentially has broken off of there, off this arm, so hopefully it's not going to be too difficult of a fix. So from closer inspection, essentially this swivel part here, which is supposed to move freely as the clutch goes in and out, because it's basically seized, it would have been putting an extraordinary amount of strain on this metal arm. So one thing I need to do when it's repaired is also make sure this is thoroughly cleaned and lubricated so it can move as freely as it should. Okay, so it's the following day and I've got the part out. It was not easy. I had to basically remove the entire clutch arm, and that is this piece here. So essentially the part that I'm holding with my hand is the part that the lever was actually attached to, and at the other end of it is the part which will go into the bell housing to where the clutch actually is. So this is really the offending area. So one of the things is this cotter pin will not go through that hole. It took a huge amount of persuading, tapping it. I had to get it absolutely red hot, and it really wasn't easy. And what I found is these holes are actually oval, so where they have worn, which means they've got tight spots which will pinch. So I'm gonna have to re-drill those if I can get this part repaired, if not replaced. And because essentially when it's on the actual clutch arm, because it wasn't able to kind of move freely and it was kind of stiff, it was kind of moving up and down. It's hard to describe, but essentially it would have been putting an unnecessary and additional strain on the actual push rod. So rather than it pivoting like it should, it was more kind of pulling it at an angle, and it would have been fatiguing the metal until one day I put the clutch down, out it came. So if I can get this part repaired, then I'm going to have to re-drill out these holes and make sure it's very smooth, well lubricated, and it's an area I can keep an eye on. When it comes to buying an old vehicle like this that could have spent a huge amount of time sitting, not really doing anything, or very low mileage, and then suddenly you're driving it as an everyday vehicle, things are going to show up. So essentially what I mean by this is things that might not be obvious. You can spot things normally, you can hear things going wrong, you can feel things going wrong, but sometimes things will be wearing and tearing and things without you knowing it. Now I'm going to go to a garage to see if I can get that welding done. Obviously I can't go in Jacques. I also can't go in Doug, my Reliant, because Doug is back in Sussex awaiting an MOT. So I'm going to be going in a vehicle that is extremely not Alex. So what we have here is my aunt's smart car, which she has been very kind enough to insure me on. And really what's unique about this car for me is it's completely electric. Now, I am not opposed to electric cars in any way. A lot of classic car owners sometimes seem to hate them, but I actually think they're really good fun. And when you put your foot down on this, God blimey, does it accelerate. It puts that DeLorean I drove to shame. Craig, if you're watching, I apologise. I'd always pick the DeLorean over this, every time. That I just went down to, I knew they were going to be a good one to go to. Jolie took one of her vans there in the past, I think it was a year or two ago, and they were very good. And while I was there, well, basically when I turned up, they were like, yeah, we can fix that, no problem, we do it now. I was like, great. And the guy there behind the reception, he was probably in his like 60s, 70s, and we got talking about classic cars, and he took me out the back to where they've got some storage, and they got some beautiful old classics in there, including a Morris Minor, which of course are very close to my heart. And anyway, I would have the part with me now, but the welder guy was out, he was on his lunch or something. So they said, give us your number, we'll give you a call when it's done. So hopefully today it will be done, and then I can start to reassemble.
Reassemble. Huh? Reassemble.
Right, it is done. As you can see, they've done a very hefty job with the welding. That's nice and strong, and I'm just going to drill out these holes here, just so the cotter pin will fit nice and freely, and then get a lick of paint on it, stop it from rusting. Okay, that drill bit is about the right size, so it doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but as long as the cotter pin doesn't rattle around, but most importantly can actually move freely, we should be good to go. Perfect. I've dipped the end in Hammerite paint just to cover up the weld, but at some point I'm going to need to come in here anyway and deal with this rusty metal. It is now on, and it seems to all be working nice and free as it should. In the process of taking this whole assembly off, I managed to break one of the split pins, so I need to get some more. I haven't got any on me at the moment, so I will make sure I have one of those in before I drive the vehicle, but I will count this as a success. What do you reckon, Darcy? Jolie, you're going to help. You're going to eat some crisps and operate the clutch pedal, okay? So we're going to make sure the mechanism is all functioning. So new split pins. Hopefully that's enough. Are you pushing it to the floor? Excellent. Cool, let's give it a try. Driving Jacques again, having the clutch working and everything. Now, one of the things is I'm actually driving back down to that garage that did the welding on the clutch part to ask them whether they can do anything about the rear door where it was hit by that Land Rover, and just get an idea of roughly how much that kind of thing would cost, because if that's done, then I can really move on with the rest of the renovation of the van. Okay, so I've just got back, and now I can see that I look extremely hot, and that's because I am. Not only is it nearly like 30 degrees today, but Jacques is a very hot vehicle to drive in this kind of weather because there's no airflow in here. I'm getting a lot of heat coming up from the engine, and these windows should open, but they don't. And it's borderline unbearable at times. So at some point what I'd really like to do is retrofit Jacques with air conditioning, which I've heard isn't actually as difficult to do as you might expect. Obviously it's time and it's money, and there are other things that are more important, and of course inevitably the weather is going to get cold again. But at the moment, just driving a short distance in this kind of heat is just like... So I'll show you what I was talking to them about earlier on. So some of you guys that have been watching this channel for a while, you might remember when this rear door was smashed up. I have tried to kind of beat it out a little bit myself just so it closes a bit better. I haven't done the best job, I admit, but at the moment what stops it from opening is the ratchet strap here. And they were just like, yeah, they had a look at it, took some pictures, and they said they're going to let me know roughly what kind of price they think it will be and let me know. So wait and see, I guess. Right, so the plan is go down to the beach in the camper van since it's running, and I think after working on it in this blazing heat, it'd be nice just to go down to the beach and chill. I've got some milk here so we can make some tea. Ah yes, the whole point of having a camper van. There's nothing like going down to the seaside and having a nice cup of tea. Ain't that right, Jolie?
Aye, aye.
It's so nice being back in Wales. I had a great time in America, really great time, but there's no place like home. Now while I was there for the best part of 3 months, Jolie, you were staying in Jacques, were you not?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, you could see it. Oh, it was perfect. I mean, you know, the location's lovely, and just go back, you know, to basics. And
is it weird seeing Jacques run after all this time?
yeah, oh, but it's lovely though.
Need to get you a van, don't we?
Yeah.
Keep selling
Start
them.
Saving.
Well, what a good end to this day. Van all up and running for the most part, touch wood. And it's just been really nice to kind of have one of those evenings, go down to the beach, wander around, have a tea, just relax. It's what it's all about when it comes to van life. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please put a comment in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next episode.